This government meeting is brought to you by Eastworks and our local cable subscribers.
I would love to try to get us out of here in like a half hour today because I have a lot going on this week. So if that's amenable to all you, we'll try to move
Listen, I'm
pretty quickly.
selfish. I have a hockey game at 7. I'll stay till the end, but we have a hockey game at 7.
I think we can make it quick. Um, so next on the agenda, obviously first on the agenda is open time for public comment, but there's no members of the public here. Approving minutes from the November meeting. Did you all have a chance to check those out? They were a little longer than usual because we discussed a lot.
I did it. I can honestly say I didn't see any content problems, but it's not that important. But the timing of adjournment, like we started at 6 and ended at 6:05, I don't think so.
Oh, 7:05. There we go.
It was a quick meeting, but I think it was 7:05.
Yes, that makes sense. Thank you. I was
See, I read them. See, I read them.
Yes. I was rereading the open meeting law stuff like we're all supposed to, and it was like it reminded me that you're supposed to put a little more content in the minutes. Because it was like if you discuss something, you can't just say discuss such and such. You have to say here's what was discussed. I was like, damn, I love writing just we discussed that. But so I tried to make it a little more substantive this time, although they're not all going to be this long, certainly.
I signed the form, but I haven't finished reading everything for that.
Oh, it's just so fascinating. You should read it when you're trying to fall asleep at night if you haven't saw it.
No.
You know what? I don't remember what I did. I think I started reading them and I think I forgot. I better go back. Make a note. Make a note.
You can sign it before you finish and just so that it gets done.
Yeah.
Too.
Yeah, but I don't remember what I did. Okay.
Stephen, do you have any edits to the minutes?
I move approval.
All right. Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Voice vote. You have to say Simmons, aye.
Johnson, aye.
Tilby, aye.
Bowman, aye.
Nice job, everyone. Open meeting law also reminded me that that's required when it's virtual. See, I read the thing and it stuck apparently. Okay, minutes approved unanimously. Next, I wanted to see if anyone would be willing to volunteer as vice chair or clerk of this committee. The vice chair is really just a figurehead, but if we ever needed to have a meeting, we like really needed to, and I wasn't able to be there, they could open and close the meeting. And then the clerk would just be the one who takes the minutes and posts them online, or they could even take the minutes and I could post them online. Right now I'm chair and clerk basically, which is kind of a lot. So is anyone willing to take on any of those other roles?
I know still I don't have the time beyond what I'm doing because I'm still taking care of a 4-year-old and a 2-year-old 3 afternoons a week. So it just makes it hard to do anything else.
I'm one of those people that's always inclined to say yes. I'm way overextended too, but I understand where you're at. The only problem that bothers me about the clerking is I'm still such a newbie, and that's why if I get accepted into that class, I'm taking that class because I'm really not sure what I'm doing as far as a clerk would be concerned. I'm a clerk. I've been clerks with lots of other organizations. Yeah, I would have you post them. But I'm just not, it's the content that I'm a little worried about.
Well,
I'm sure that you'll do fine. And we want to keep it legal, but I hate verbose minutes. So we don't need, Sally said this and Joe said that, and we went around for 30 minutes. But we discussed the pros and cons of the proposal, and we decided what and follow-up steps are to be done by whom, by when. So, I'll be very happy with very skeletal minutes.
Well, within the guidelines, however, I first I will read the open meeting.
Keep it legal.
Yes.
So previously to my grandparenting commitments, I did minutes for the social justice committee I was in, and that we would record them, and then you can listen to them, but you can also speed it up.
Right. I
So
do that
that
a lot because I'm
Yeah, or like skip
Okay.
ahead.
the church.
Oh,
I'm
I
the
didn't
clerk
skip
of the
ahead,
church.
but I just didn't listen to it at the snail pace that the meeting happened at.
That's
So
smart.
you can
If I can access the recording, that would make me enable me to fill in the gaps.
Is that you saying,
Oh.
Karen, that you're willing to be our minutes taker? I would be
I
so happy.
nominate Sharon for clerk.
We have a
I'll
second?
second.
All in favor? Simmons, aye.
Johnson, aye.
I gotta tell
Bowman,
you,
aye.
I want to abstain.
Passes by
Thank you
majority.
so much.
Well, I gotta tell
Hey,
you,
and Sierra, I'll step up, self-nominate for vice chair if I should be so
Sure.
fortunate as to be
Sharon, what were
elected,
you?
because you and I rub shoulders all the time.
Of course. Sharon, were you about to say something though?
that's fine because I am church with our clerk, and I've got to tell you, the last meeting we had, the moderator didn't show up, and so I did that too. I ran that meeting. I've been moderators and vice moderators and the whole thing, but this is a content problem,
Yeah.
not knowing the stuff. So, but if I can access, what we talk about, that's fine.
Yeah. If you're ready to start with this meeting, I will send you the link to the recording after this.
Okay.
I found it really helpful. And I do sometimes, I haven't figured out how to do fast forward. I do sometimes skip ahead if I like remember it, especially if you do it like right after you're like, oh wait, I remember how that conversation went. We sort of drifted off and got distracted. So I like skip 5 minutes ahead. So it doesn't take as long as the whole meeting again to listen to the minutes and do it.
Depends on the meeting. I would say this
Yeah.
meeting, no, it would not.
Yeah. Okay, well, so do we have a second for Stephen as vice chair?
I'll second.
All right. All in favor by voice vote, which means you say your last name and your vote. Simmons, aye.
Tilby, yes.
Oh, Bowman, aye.
Johnson, abstain.
All right. Awesome. We
Thank
got
you both.
officers. So I will still be happy to upload the minutes when they're approved. And I will send you my template as well. I'm gonna do everything I can to make it as easy as possible for you. I'm just so grateful you're willing to do this. It's incredible. Sharon, you're the best.
We'll see.
We'll see. And yeah, you've seen like different people. If you've been in other committees in this town, you've seen that everyone sort of does minutes in their own style, but they tend to be pretty short. And I think the ones from this past month were like the longest ones I've ever done. So you can definitely keep it succinct.
Okay.
Okay. Moving along. So 354 College Highway RFP. We got our one response to our RFP from Habitat for Humanity. I did forward it to you all.
Yes.
And so what happened was there's an official way that you have to open a response to RFP. So Bradley, the accountant, Scott, the town administrator, and myself all had to go in person to the second floor meeting room, and we had to like sit there together to open it together. And we invited Megan from Habitat for Humanity, who's the bidder, to be there to answer questions. So she came in person. And Bradley went through as a procurement director and made sure that all of the minimum requirements were met, which they were. And then we looked at the specifics of the proposal. Everything looks like it's in alignment. They had great recommendations. Everything looks good. So and it's the only one we got. So I would love if we could vote on it to accept it. But if we have questions, let's discuss.
Yeah, I actually made time to read it.
Amazing.
Which, yeah, but I just had a couple of questions. So
Sure.
it talks about the appropriate household size means a household containing a number of members equal to the number of bedrooms in the property plus one. Now, these are families. What if they have another child? What if they start out with 3-bedroom with 4 people? I just was curious. I'm sure that happens. They're not going to. I would imagine they don't have to move. But
well, they may have to move. I mean, their kids could share a bedroom. They could build an addition, but it is also possible to sell a house once you've gotten it through the lottery system. So Habitat for Humanity, they have the once you get like selected from the lottery, you are invited and encouraged to put in sweat equity into the house and help build it. So they spend like 250 hours building it. That's
Yeah.
considered like equity, and so if they go to sell it, they will get back everything they put in, but they won't get profit. So the one thing, 'cause it
Right.
has to
Yeah.
stay deed restricted. So if they did grow out of the house, they could sell it and at no loss to themselves, but probably at very minimal gain, if any, depending on, there could be a little bit of gain because the area median income goes up every year. So like the amount that's affordable goes up every year. So they could get a little bit of gain. But yeah, I think they don't, it sounds to me like they don't want to, have someone in there leaving extra space for another person just in case, because then that like precludes a larger family who might need it. So they would prioritize
Right.
like the most.
No, I understand that, but I would think that they would have being so family oriented, something to accommodate families that have another child.
I think what it's saying, and this
Okay.
absolutely is worth clarifying, is that these are the criteria to compete to build and own the house, not the criteria to continue ownership, because they will own it outright, subject to affordability limitations. What it gets to, Anne, I think, is
Uh-huh.
that a family of 8 would be just out of the running because
Right.
a family of 4 would be prioritized.
Mhm.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, that's helpful, but um and the other question I had, and this is all in the local initiative program affordable housing deed rider.
Mhm.
On page 3, the chief executive shall mean the mayor in a city or the board of selectmen in a town.
Mhm.
So is it the board of selectmen in Southampton, and do they know that?
Yeah, so it's interesting. I just came across this because I was submitting, well, I'll tell you about this next. I was submitting a grant application, and it's a little confusing in town. Sometimes the CEO is considered the select board, sometimes it's considered the select board chair, and sometimes it's considered the town administrator. And some town administrators have more powers than others. But yes, I believe they do know the deal in Southampton. And I in this case, I received conflicting answers, which is that it is both the select board and the town administrator, and the town administrator was able to act as CEO to sign my grant thing this morning. So I don't know. It is a little.
And the select board is in the loop beyond
Okay.
just me.
That was primarily.
Well, so I have a question about the budget, right? This has been to town meeting to approve CPA funding and perhaps the actual acquisition of this parcel, I would
Mhm.
expect. But Lord, so that's why there's broad knowledge of this because CPA grants go to town meeting, and so the elected and appointed officials, we cross our fingers, are tracking that even over multiple years. This is already a couple or 3 years. But in the budget, it's clear that the land is being donated for these purposes with all these riders. But there's also mentioned an additional, it looks additional to me in the budget, 30,000 described as CPA request.
Mhm.
Had you heard about that, Sarah?
Yes. So, and in fact, I'd encourage them to apply for more. So they said they usually put some level of that. And when we first talked to them about it, we let them know we did have CPA funding available that could maybe help support the project. So we did sort of know that might be coming down. She said they usually include that in all of their proposals, and they base it on how much CPA funding the town has. I told them they could ask for 45,000, and no harm, no foul if we decide to award them less, but that it was possible they could get more. So yeah, I mean, we have already spent close to 120,000 of CPA funding on this property
Was
in
that the
general.
price? Okay, good. That was
Yeah,
my
well, the
question.
property itself was around 100, and then we've spent maybe 10 or 15K on like all the site prep and stuff.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah. I'm not against it. I was just wondering, do we have a contingent bid? Is that what it is? I
What does
mean,
that mean?
they're well, they're asking us to go forward with 30,000 additional subsidy beyond the land grant, and you know the process that couldn't even be determined,
Yeah.
entertained until town meeting. So, is it contingent? We have to vote yes, or they walk away.
That was not my understanding. I think the way that she was talking about it, she was like, we try to figure out a budget that makes sense. This was our best guess of what the budget would be. Um, but she didn't say we won't do it if we can't get CPA funding. She just said we'll try to include that when we can. Um, I can make sure that that's the case, but I am almost 100% sure that is not contingent. It doesn't say anything about it being contingent, and that if we did say no to the CPA funding, they would find another resource. 'Cause they've got,
And
they're a nonprofit. They've got individual donors who could help them. They've got other resources, so
right.
figure it out.
And I'm not expressing an opinion one way or the other. I just want to know what we're saying yes to.
Yeah.
Thank you for the introduction. Bradley, town accountant, is also under state law, our procurement officer, which requires training and certification, blah, blah, blah.
Mhm.
And Scott has been a procurement officer in other communities. So what Sierra described is the mind-numbing truth. There's a elaborate state process that you have to go through. What I got out of that is that we can be assured that the process has been legal, open. The opening of the bid was done with rigor, and we have one applicant. And it appears to me, well, I guess Bradley certified that they meet all of our minimums. And I would move approval to go forward and grant this agreement. Um,
Okay. Do we have a second? And then I'll open the floor to any further
I
discussion.
okay, Ian.
Okay. More discussion? Any more questions or concerns?
I don't think so. I thought I just think it's interesting that the original owners are 60% of or less of the area mean income.
Mm.
That for resale, they raise it to 80% of the area mean.
Huh. Yeah, that is interesting. I wonder what that is.
Why that is.
Yeah, maybe that is so they can gain a little equity if they sell it, or maybe it has to do with where some of their funding comes from and the requirements, but I really don't know what that is.
I know it was. Yeah, I was just surprised and
yeah. Luckily 80 falls within 80 is the max for the SHI, the inventory for affordable housing, so it still count. Whereas the CPA match is 100% of the area median income, which does not count as affordable housing. It counts as community housing. Any further discussion? We have a motion on the table. All right. All in favor of accepting this proposal by voice vote? Simmons, aye.
Johnson, aye.
Bowman, aye.
All right. Unanimous vote to say yes to this. I will let them know. Thank you all. And
Sarah, congratulations.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Yay.
A win so far.
Very rewarding.
Oh, I think this cake is getting pulled out of the oven. I think that we're ready to go. You might not see construction, but
Yeah.
our bit, Sierra's initiative, has come full term. Whatever the metaphor is.
two of the women who are on the Affordable Housing Trust are also board members of Habitat for Humanity. And last night they were saying things like, I don't even think it's going to be like 3 or 4 years. I think some of their other projects are getting held up, and this is going to happen faster than they even thought.
Oh,
We could get lucky. I wouldn't
yeah,
hang my hat on that. I don't know if that's the right expression, but
yeah,
it would be cool if they were able to do it sooner.
that would be wonderful. I think that the permitting is a slow process, it seems like.
Yeah, for sure.
It can
But,
be.
we got
Yep.
a lot of that, certain things underway already. Like we've got like the septic application already done. We've got the wetland already partway done. We just need to add their name to the ESA. So we've got some of the stuff already handled, but obviously there's a lot. There's building and zoning and stuff.
But it's a single family house. It's not some multifamily or some oddity that doesn't conform with zoning. This is pretty much shovel ready.
Yeah.
It's by right too, because it's single family, isn't it? Didn't I read that?
It's what?
By right?
By right, they can't. It's harder to by right means that it's harder for zoning to create complications for it. Is that correct?
That's fair.
Okay.
Yeah.
That'd be nice.
Yeah. Plus, that's Habitat's problem now. I love this whole like system of we figure out the stuff and then we like hand it over to a nonprofit to deal with it who like actually knows what the heck they're doing.
That seems really good at what they're doing.
Yeah, for real. And who's been like side by side with us every step of the way, even though they don't have like all that much to gain from it other than building one house, but just like and fulfilling their mission, obviously, in a very small way. But they've been so responsive and dedicated, and they didn't like forget us. And it's like the executive, just like with Wayfinders, it's like the executive director is showing up to this tiny town to meet with us, even though I'm sure they have like so many other priorities. So I'm just grateful. One of the reasons I moved to Western Mass is because we have such awesome community organizations, and I'm just constantly reminded about how amazing it is here.
And it might also be a feather in their cap to do something in a community they haven't done something in before.
True. Now then they can say, check.
Good for them, good for us.
Yeah.
Expect the fundraising letter to come.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, it is. It's all good. And yeah.
Beautiful.
Did we finish that vote? We got it?
We did.
Yes.
We did.
Yes, we have.
Yay.
So next on the agenda, zoning bylaw review update. So after Anne, you brought up those things last meeting, I went back to look at my notes from previously, where we got in the bylaw review. And this is, again, just for context, this is talking about like housing related bylaws and regulatory actions we could take to make things better for affordable housing production. And so I went back to look at my notes from before. And the story is that a few years back, we did have joint meetings with the planning board to look at our multifamily zoning bylaw and our inclusionary zoning bylaw. But they had limited time with their consultant at the time, Richard Harris, and they were working on changing some other things about the bylaws. So they were like, we don't really have time for this. And we applied for DLTA funding, which is District Local Technical Assistance from the Pioneer Valley Planning Commission, which is basically like in-kind service. They come and help you plan stuff without you having to pay for it. We had applied several years ago for a similar project, and we got declined. So that's why that never moved forward. It was because A, we didn't get that funding, and B, the planning board had other irons in the fire and they didn't have time to focus on this. So I reached out to the Pioneer Valley Planning Commission again. I said, hey, is DLTA funding coming back around? And they were like, actually, it was just announced and it is back around. And reviewing and updating zoning bylaws to support housing production is one of the eligible uses of it. So then I reached out to Paul Demon from the planning board and asked him if he was cool with me like submitting an application and we could work on this again together. I was like, would you be willing to revisit this? I reminded him about how we'd had the previous discussions and how it didn't go anywhere. And I was like, would you be willing to work on this again with us? And he said, yes, go for it. I talked to Chris Fowles, who's not only the select board chair, but also the grant committee chair. And I checked to make sure that nobody else was also applying for DLTA funding for anyone else. I didn't want to step anyone's toes, and they weren't. And so I wrote the freaking application.
Thank you.
And I sat and down with Scott today and got him to sign it because people won't do things even digitally unless you sit there and like look at them and say, sign this freaking thing, which is why I had to figure out that he was the CEO. And I submitted it by the 3 o'clock deadline. And we'll find out January 15th if we actually got the funding. But
Oh, wow.
yeah, I was like,
And what's it
timing was
called?
really perfect, Anne, for bringing that up last time because if you hadn't done that, we would have missed this deadline. So
Thank
huge
you.
props to you.
Well, I had no idea what I was doing, but I'm glad it was good. And
Kiara,
you said
did you say the deadline was 3 p.m. this afternoon?
Yes.
Oh, God bless you. You are why small communities work. You and people like you.
No,
Pretty much
you.
everyone around this table, but wow.
No, that's great.
what is it called? D what funding? What was it?
DLTA, District Local Technical Assistance. And I'll send you guys a copy of the grant I submitted. I'm not sure
Oh,
if
thank
submitting a
you.
grant is usually a like thing that the committee has to vote on, but I looked in our minutes and the minutes said like Sierra will find out if she can get DLTA funding. So we did discuss this, and I had said it was the plan. So I think we're in the clear in terms of like committee voting, and I knew nobody could possibly have any argument with us trying to get free money to move one of our things forward.
I'll second that.
So, yeah, I'm psyched about that. And I wasn't the one who wrote the grant last time, so I have no idea what it said. I couldn't find a copy of it. And I asked, they make you call their project manager before you submit it and like discuss the project to make sure it's eligible. So I talked to this woman, Lori Tanner, and I was like, so like realistically, like how many people are applying this year? Because like we didn't get it last time, and I just want to know how good our chances are. And she was like, well, this was on the 12th, and she was like, well, no one else, only a couple other people have called me so far, but a lot of people tend to pile on at the very end of when it's due. So we don't know how many other people applied. I know that they try to distribute their funding fairly so that like, and they've helped Southampton a lot in the past. So someone else might get prioritized over us if they've never applied before, and they're like, we've given DLTA funding. Like that was how we did the housing production plan. It was through DLTA funding. And I'm pretty sure we've used it for some other things too. So we could get, and we're also not like a super economically needy community. However, it is in alignment with like our housing production plan and our master plan. So like it listed those things as key priorities for housing development. So I think I would guess we have maybe a 70% chance of getting this. But we'll find out next month.
Yeah, that might be right. Sarah, wow, more power to you. I do
Thank you.
know of one recent DLTA grant to the planning board to look at reviving the Barnes Aquifer Advisory Committee, a group of neighboring communities that all overlies some portion of the Barnes Aquifer, sole source aquifer, contaminated in places, but we certainly rely on them for our public water supply. Okay.
Was that awarded?
It was awarded, and it was a little frustrating because we couldn't compel, and we had not recruited the neighboring towns. So it was to do some outreach, and the outreach was okay. So do you have any idea who would be doing the work on this particular thing?
I signed up for it to be me, but I
No,
also
on
think,
PVPC side, if they award the
oh,
grant, who's the planner that would do the substantive work?
I'm not sure. I'm gonna guess Kyle or Ken. Those are pretty much our guys, and I think they tend to send people who are familiar with the town. So I'm gonna
Right.
guess
So
Kyle
I
or
think
Ken.
Ken graduated out of this, but Kyle would be fine
Hmm.
if we are proactive with communication.
Oh yeah. Well, we will be.
Yes, yes, I know.
Um,
So this is great. This is great. So I would add to this not only the dimensional issues about, well, okay, I leapt to multifamily. You were
mhm,
talking about the general zoning code
mhm,
to remove barriers for affordable housing. And multifamily housing is not the same as affordable housing,
right.
but
But
they
it can
might
sometimes be.
they might intersect.
Mhm.
So, given that we are entirely septic community, do you, members of this board, have vision for where else it might be appropriate to focus affordable housing development going forward over what, 20-year span? What does the housing production plan look at? 10, 20,
It's supposed
50?
to be 10 years, so that would be through 2032. I mean, personally, I think accessory dwelling units and like small things added to small properties that already exist that are not like town owned, like individuals just doing that. I think that's promising. Um, I know we don't have a lot of space, honestly. So I think it's going to be mostly like smaller things. I mean, if the Zero College Highway thing works out with something large, that's great. But I think it's going to be small, little chipping away at things one by one, personally.
You mean like a duplex, so to speak, here, another one here, another one here, not a development.
Yeah, I believe so. Um,
Not a multi-family. Are duplexes by right or not in Southampton?
I think in many zoning districts, but if you
In
want to check
Southampton.
that, look at the rural residential, the RR. It's the most rural and limited zoning. And I would suspect that they divert multifamily to at least a special permit, if not a variance. That we probably have 4 different flavors of residential zoning, from rural residential to village residential, and multi would be allowed in commercial districts, although we really don't have anything meaningful in that regard either. So I don't want to distract to that, but I it would be great if we reflect the master plan as well as the housing production plan as we look forward. And I'm all for private single family initiatives, and there are a number of different ways to go about that. But if this is a bylaw time, we ought to tune up the multifamily portion of that.
And some places do duplexes as by right,
yeah.
as opposed
I think we do
grouping them
most.
with. Okay, you think that duplexes are by?
It's a gut feeling.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like part of this initiative is that like I don't feel like I know a lot about zoning bylaws, and so an additional thing I requested was just like what innovations have there been that we don't know about that might benefit us that other towns
Oh,
have
that's the way to phrase it.
good.
Wonderful.
So I've got that. I also, Anne and Sharon, I checked in with Stephen while I was applying to this because I was like, I need some way to explain why I think our multifamily zoning bylaw is not good enough yet. And I really don't understand what I'm saying. So I got him to throw in some language in there for me. So that was really helpful. Thank you, Stephen, for the quick
You're welcome.
response. And yeah, I tried not to make it too, I tried to make sure the language wasn't too like, our bylaws suck, because I know that Paul is in charge of that. Another step in my process was I didn't even know how zoning bylaws worked, so I had to reach out to my favorite mentor, Janet Kane, and be like, who's in charge of the zoning bylaws? When does the bylaw committee come into place? Like, why were we meeting with the select board? What do they have to do with anything? Is it the zoning? And she was like, no, all zoning bylaws are the under the auspices of the planning board. And so that's why not all the bylaws, but just the zoning bylaws, the planning board is in charge of them. And so that's why we need to work with them to do this. But I'm expecting to be the one who has to actually push it forward, and we'll just get them to show up to meetings with us.
That's all right, but it is the planning board that enforces any and every zoning bylaw. The passage of a new bylaw or the amendment of an old bylaw always goes to the whole town meeting.
Yes, of course. I just mean if we like if we wanted to start this in motion, I had to get Paul to at least say yes to it. So I was kind of surprised at how easy it was to get him to say yes to this, but he was down.
Annual town meeting draws a lot less suspicion
Yeah.
than special town meeting on zoning articles.
Right.
Yeah, I had no idea the suspicion was even a thing until at this last town meeting, something was up for vote, and one of the residents said, "Why is this being brought up at special town meeting when there's less people here? It feels awfully sneaky." And I was like, "What? This is like based solely on timing. Like we're literally just like getting shit through when it's ready. Like nobody is thinking about sneakiness, but who knows? Maybe someone's thinking
I'm
about
so
sneakiness.
sorry, Sierra. Our generation has fucked up the world. There's this suspicious and also hateful virus running around, and
Yeah.
it is destructive. So kudos to all of us for toughing it out and
Hmm.
going forward and engaging with the community about what's needed, and then goddamn getting it done.
Yes. Um, Thank you for the positive encouragement. It's always appreciated. Um, so I have a ton of cookies to make, and I will be reaching out to you guys to see if you want cookies. I will be delivering them in the next week or so. So I do want to get out of here. So any other urgent business before we schedule our next meeting?
Not from me.
I don't think anything's more urgent than cookies.
Yeah, right? Come on.
Right.
Okay, so let's meet after we find out about DLTA funding, so maybe late January. Let me see. Because then if we don't get it, we might want to look at other options, so it'll be a good time to reconvene and discuss. What about today is Wednesday, January 28th.
Sure.
Okay, check my second calendar as always. Calendar number 1.
Are you looking at the town calendar for conflicts?
No, I didn't, but I can. That would be smart.
Well, yeah.
Usually
Right.
I schedule my meetings so in advance that nobody else is ever ahead of me. Nope, there's nothing on the 28th.
Great.
Um,
I'm with you.
okay. Google Calendar. Now I need my other Google Calendar. The big bad work Google Calendar that I don't even want to think about right now.
6 o'clock our time.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, if that still works.
Yep.
Okay. Wednesday the 28th. We are good for 6 o'clock.
All right.
Okay.
6 p.m. Wednesday the 28th. Let me just write that down
I
before
can practically smell those cookies.
They're gonna be awesome. When they're ready,
Happy
I'm gonna
solstice, everyone.
email everyone and get their addresses for delivery. All right. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
So move.
All in
Second.
favor?
Johnson,
Oh,
Owen, I.
Yes.
All right. Have a great one, you guys.
This government meeting is brought to you by Eastworks and our local cable subscribers.